Thanks for tuning in again, everybody. We're back with your favorite podcast, Luka's Tigers and Bronze. Oh my.
If you guys haven't listened, we had Jacob from Top Shot on yesterday. Jacob wears a ton of hats, but he basically runs the communities for Top Shot. So be sure to give that episode a listen. Next Thursday, we're going to be on Clubhouse, and we're going to be doing a Coffee with Cage type of episode through Clubhouse. So we're going to post something on Instagram. Keep an eye out for it. We're going to pull people from the room, but we're also going to read some of your guys' questions, comments live on the air on Clubhouse, and then we'll record it and publish it.
And guys, listen, if you have time and you want to get in there and you just haven't joined Clubhouse yet, and you're one of our, Luka Nation OGs, one of our listeners, somebody out there who wants to get in Clubhouse but can't, but you want to get on that episode and be in what will ultimately be the next Coffee with Cage, let us know. Send us a message. I personally have a couple of invites to send out as well, and we'll try to get you in there. Okay.
Okay. Well, that's Cage. Please don't DM me. I'm sick of sending out invites. It takes up too much of my time. Figure out a different way on. It would be my advice.
I have a couple, so send me. I have a couple left.
I know, but we get tons of DMs, Cage. We got like 20 DMs. How do we choose which one of those 20 people will send a Clubhouse invite?
The first three who send me one after this will get in, and after that, everyone will get their same response back. Sorry, I used my last 3 invites. But I'll put it out there. I'd rather have Luka Nation get it than like my cousin Larry, who is only going to call me and say, I got to get on Clubhouse. You mean one of your invites?
You mean your cousin Vinny? But you guys are smart. Figure out a way to get on Clubhouse. Please, please, please don't use, hey, you guys never responded or sent me an invite to get you on Clubhouse. Please figure out a different way to get on. Without further ado, Parm Cards asks, the 40 million golden investment, how will it actually impact the market beyond the media headlines that we've seen the last few days?
I don't think it's going to impact the market at all. I mean, it's great to see that people have invested in things, right? And it's great to see the headline that, there's money coming into the hobby. But in the grand scheme of things, a $40 million investment into Ken Golden's, operation, what does that really do? I mean, maybe it makes it so that Ken has a website that works and doesn't crash on auction night. Maybe he could build up some infrastructure. Maybe he can, hire a couple more people for intake. Maybe he can, spend a little bit of money on that on I don't know, building up a better website. I don't want to poo-poo $40 million. Obviously, it's a huge amount of money, but I don't think it really moves the needle on things at all, other than that headline and that top line story, which is there's money coming into the hobby, right? People are investing in this space. Ken Golden, being the poster child for our hobby right now, I don't believe that lasts, because I think that if this is what people think it is, that it's the first of many infusions of cash and infusions of tech, well, I think you're going to see probably, other auction companies come up. Other people do it better. People throw real money. People throw real tech at it to do it in a different way. And, I think the best thing that will come out of this is something that we don't even know of yet. And more importantly, hopefully the people who have been doing this for a while, the heritage auctions, heck, the Sotheby's or whoever else it might be that are out there, the people who are doing the auction, they see this space. They see how much money there is in it. They see the money coming into it, and that they take it seriously also, because I've always believed in card companies, in everything, more competition is better. You have more people doing this stuff, better product, the better it is for us as the end consumer. So
I love it. 412 Sports Cards. I think that's a Pittsburgh area code. It's my opinion that the Legends market is losing some steam. If you think the prices might pull back, do you sell and attempt to buy back in lower prices? Love that strategy. Or just hold through it. On one hand, you could maybe make more profit selling and buying back at a later date, but also run the risk of missing on a sudden spike. Which would you do?
So I can tell you, right, that almost every time I've thought to myself, this GOAT, so vintage, great players, a little different story, but on the GOATs, every time I thought to myself, this GOAT has run too much. I'm going to sell now, or I'm going to wait to buy because I think it's at a peak. It's going to pull back and I'm going to buy in then. Every time I've had that strategy, it has missed. It has failed. not that not that I bought in and it kept falling. It's that I didn't get in, or it never came down to what I thought it was going to be. So if I sold a card at $10,000 and I'm like, this is run too much, I'm going to wait for it to go back down to $6,000. On the goats, they very rarely do. You rarely time it the right way. It's usually like, you have to be lucky to do that, or you're doing it at a time where it doesn't make sense and you lucked into it. Like, you remember when the LeBron card had hit $10,000 or $12,000, $15,000, and people were like, oh, it's just going to keep running. If you sold then and were lucky enough to jump back in for that 1 week where it got back down to $7,000 or $8,000, yeah, you were lucky. You timed the market. Not a lot of people who are doing that. More likely, you were watching it kind of pull back a little bit from 15, 12, 10. You sold at 10. I'm like, I'm going to wait for it to go down to 5. And then it went back up to 15, 20, you name it, and you missed out. And now you got out of the card as it was coming down at 10 and missed out on a card that's now $40,000. To me, that's what often happens, because 4-1-12, I love the question, but think of it this way. If you're thinking that on LeBron or Kobe or Jordan or any of these guys, do you think you're really the only person out there thinking, I'm going to wait for it to fall, and when it falls 10 or 20%, I'm going to jump on it? You're the only person out there saying Mahomes' cards came down a little bit, I'm going to jump on them. No, that's what everyone's thinking. Everybody wants to get in on those goats. And more often than not, if you sell, there's going to be a brief period of a drop. And when there's a drop, 5 more people come in with the same exact strategy that you have, or there may not even be that drop. You're going to sell now thinking you're at a peak, and you are not able to go back in. So I'm never one of those guys, right? Like, I'm going to sell now and get right back into the same card. If I believe in that card, that it's got an increase, I don't want to be messing around trying to time the market. Timing the market never works out. It just doesn't. You have to be lucky. And I don't know about you, Andrew, but with what we do, I try to take luck out of it. I try to do research. I try to make it a skill. I try to make it so that I'm doing my due diligence on these cards and finding what's a bargain and what's not. And I'm not trying to just, oh, wow, it's gone up a lot. Let me take a risk here. Let me take a gamble that if I sell now, I could buy back in next week less. That's more just gambling.
I think there's an element of trend following in that. And if you are someone who knows the trends, that's your strategy. You understand what catalysts and what move, vintage cards versus baseball cards versus football cards, etc. And this is a high point, it's going to dip 25%, and you've kind of spotted that, you followed those trends. I think it's brilliant. But if you're just gambling and throwing darts at a wall, I think you could lose a lot of money. So it's kind of
the only problem I have with it, man, is we've only been doing this for, this hobby trend that we have is 18 months, 2 years. Even if you want to go to maybe say it's 3 years, go back to 2018, right? So that's not enough for it to be a trend. I mean, that's a small chart in the world of stocks and the world of cards, right? So everybody knows that's the trend. Everybody says, oh, you know what? In the off season, it goes down. You buy in the off season, you sell in the preseason, and you see the trends kind of change because the masses know the trend and they try to get ahead of the trends, right? And you see baseball cards already going up significantly, way earlier than they did in the last offseason and significantly earlier than they did in the season before. So yes, you're right. You have to know the trends, but you also have to be a little flexible with your knowledge there and still try to stay ahead of them. So, I mean, to me, I read that question and I'm like, okay, Kobe's cards have flown, right? Kobe, let's just use the Kobe Chrome. It's $40,000. Should I sell now at 40 on the hope that I can get back in at 30? It depends what you bought it at. And it depends where you think the card's going to go. Because you're buying at 30, I think your thought is it's going to go to 60, right? It's going to go higher. So why sell out at 40 if you really think your card's going to go to 60? Now, if you don't really believe in the card, you bought in at 10 and you're like, whatever, 40, that's a huge increase. Sell out. And then, if you happen to be able to buy back in, that's great. If not, then you don't, but you made your money. It really just depends on what your thoughts are on the card and the whole deal. To me, goats are goats. And if I'm in them, I try to ride them up unless I just made enough profit on it where I'm like, all right, I'm out on that card. I'm not thinking I'm out and buying back in a week or two.
So we think of trends often by sport, but there's also trends PSA 10, 9 to 8, right? So like when a 10 goes up, you see a supply run of PSA 8s and 9s. So for example, the Shaq Pops PSA 9 now might be a time to sell and then rebuy in 2 months because you've noticed that supply on eBay is 3x what it was in December. So There's also those kinds of trends that are specific to the grades of the cards. As much as we look sports, you could also go one card deep.
Yep.
But I think it's I think the question, if I could flip it back on you, I think there's opportunity there. I would love for you 412 Sports Cards to come back and tell us, how you're able to spot those trends. Um, Level Up Cards asks, thoughts on minor league baseball cards as possible plays? Back in the day, pre-Bowman, these were considered the pre-rookie cards, XRC, sorry. They're usually pretty limited, especially with the team issued sets. My thinking is with relatively high production of Bowman and Topps, past and present, collectors and investors will eventually be looking to find more rare cards of their favorite players. Being a baseball guy, I figured you may have dabbled in them at some point.
So the answer is yes, I have. I think the market will be limited on that, but there is a market. So I can tell you of a couple of them that I know. There's definitely a market for Derek Jeter's high school card, believe it or not, Little Son. He's got a Little Son, a couple of those, and you can take a look at those. It's like a 1992 card. The more known ones are the 1987 Bellingham and San Bernardino Spirit and Bellingham Mariners Ken Griffey Jr. cards. And I know people collect those, especially because the regular rookie cards are in high demand. And I know Mike Trout has a bunch of minor league cards that people collect. The only issue that I have with them are, for mainstream wise, XRCs never really grab the attention that the regular rookie card does, right? So will there be a market for it? Sure. Do I think that people are going to say, wow, Bowman is produced so heavily that I'm going to go for the minor league card? No. Like I said, there'll be a market for it, but I think there's only a market for it in guys where there might not be a rookie card. So, you know what I think of? Like I'll always go back to not baseball. Baseball right now with Bowman, there's so many cards for everybody who could ever get into a major league game and for guys who won't ever get into a major league game that you don't need to go to that minor league card. Where the minor league stuff comes in is, I try to think of it's like an offbeat card or like something that people will search for. Your favorite is the Rocks, college football card, right? There is definitely a market obviously for those obscure cards. But not, not, I don't think in baseball that you need it, right? I would understand if you were trying to fill a void, you know what I mean? Like, I'm trying to think of like guys who you do it for, and the names that come to mind are like, Russell Wilson or Tim Tebow, but even they had Bowman cards. I mean, those are guys who never even, they never even came into, the majors really, and yet they even have Bowman cards. So, I guess if you were to go back early enough, you can find them. I know Mariano Rivera also has a minor league card that I think it's called Diamond cards or something like that. I know, so there definitely is a market for them. People get them, but to me, that's more of a fringe, and it's something you don't necessarily need to put your money into unless you're looking for a lower price point. Like Mike Trout, if you didn't want to buy the 2011 update card, but you wanted to get a rookie card or something that was fun, conversation piece, you can definitely there are several of his minor league cards that are significantly cheaper than, anything you get for a major brand.
Drake's PCS, if you're grading an autographed card, how do you decide if you grade the card and auto, card only, or auto only?
Okay, so I am not an autograph collector. I will tell you that right now, right? So it is not my thing, right? So right off the bat, that's the deal. But this is an easy question to answer for me because I don't have, a million autographs, right? And don't get me wrong, I have autographs, right? But to me, I'm not paying a premium for an autographed card. It's just not. I think a rookie card as a card. I think of autographs as a completely separate category of collectible. And I'm not paying a premium for somebody to have an autographed card. Okay, so with that being said, if I look at an autographed card, you have to look at the signature itself, right? So if it's a sticker auto, does any of the autograph run off the sticker? If any slight bit of that autograph runs off the sticker, I'm not grading that autograph because it will not get a 10. All right. If it's on card or on sticker, then beyond if it runs off the sticker, you have to look whether or not there's any smudges, any interruptions, any issues with the signature, any place where the pen /marker /Sharpie, ran off. If it's an on card, did any of the signature run off the card? With the person signing it, if it's like an in-person kind of card signing, did they sign it in a way where, they ran the autograph off the edge of the card? Anything like that, I don't grade the autograph. And the last, so obviously, if it's fine, if it's fully on the sticker, if it's fully on the card, if there's no issues with the signature, you can grade that autograph. The only other time where I don't grade the autograph, I don't get an autograph grade, is it's a low level player, low level autograph. You know what I mean? A base autograph, something that's not worth that much money. I don't think people really pay a premium for an autograph grade anyway. For a card that's 100, 200, 300, a couple $100. And I think you run first of all, you pay more for it, but two, you run the risk of the card coming back that would have just been a Gem Mint 10 autograph card. Now it's in a slab that says 10 with an auto 9. And believe it or not, I think people would pay less for that than one that just says PSA 10 without an auto grade. So that's my take on it. Again, just one guy here. But that's my take on when to grade autograph cards.
Dennis Patrick Zender, thoughts on 1980s OPC hockey cards having a moment? For example, Iserman, Patrick Waugh, not Patrick Roy.
Patrick Waugh. One of the most faked cards ever, by the way. I bought a Patrick Waugh rookie when I was a kid, and turned out it was counterfeit. There are a lot of counterfeit cards out there.
Like a reprint?
Yeah, like someone faked the card. It wasn't like a reprint. It was, I guess you call it a reprint. Like someone made it. There are counterfeit cards out there, right?
How do you distinguish between a counterfeit and a reprint?
Well, you take it to sell, and the dealer looks at it and says, "You got to go get this thing checked out because it's fake." The card quality. I was a kid. The quality.
Yeah, but you're missing the question. You're missing the question then. Isn't a reprint by theory a counterfeit card, or is there a huge distinction between those two?
No, people make reprints as reprints. So like the Topps archive sets are reprint cards. There are reprints printed of the Topps T206 that are meant to be reprints, and people actually buy reprint cards. They're called RPs. Counterfeit cards are something that someone is making, not reprinting. Someone is making a version of the card and trying to pass it off as authentic. That's the difference. But so to the question, I love it. I think that the Patrick Bet-David sale of the Gretzky's shined a light on hockey and OPC versus Topps and the price differential that anybody who's been in hockey has already known about, but didn't get mainstream attention. And with hockey being, let's call it that quintessential Canadian sport, people actually pay more for OPC. I've seen other 80s, so it's funny, I'll stretch the question a little bit. I've seen other 80s OPC stuff start to pick up steam. When I was a kid in the 80s and I saw OPC, I was like, oh man, that's not a card I want. I'm like, that's not real Topps. That's fake Topps. That's from Canada. Get it out of here. Get it back across the border. But I recently saw an 87 Topps Barry Bonds OPC card sell for thousands of dollars because they're not around in high grade. They weren't made as many as the Topps cards were. It's almost kind of like a Tiffany card, right? There's a scarcity to it because they weren't made in the same quantity that the regular Topps cards were. So you don't have that many in high end. And so somebody who's a Barry Bonds super collector will pay a premium to have the 87 Topps Tiffany, the 86 Topps Traded Tiffany, and then the 86 OPC. So yeah, I mean, I like it. It is it's a way to find scarcity. Baseball, in the 60s, there were variants of Topps cards, not just OPC, but there was Venezuelan cards. They actually made Topps cards in Venezuela. It was like a different kind of card stock. And the toy company, Milton Bradley, had variants of the Topps cards that you couldn't tell were any different, but they were like inserted in toys, like Milton Bradley toys. So if you wanted to, you could find like a 1968 Topps a 1968 Milton Bradley Nolan Ryan rookie, rare as heck in high grade. Same thing with, if you just write in like Topps Venezuela cards, some of the 60s rookies, even in low grade, sell for a ton of money. So I put the OPC stuff, in that category. In the mid 80s, another one to look at it if you think that this is a trend. Donruss, Donruss, the American brand in the 80s, that mid 80s was huge. 84, you had Mattingly's rookie. 85, you had Joe Carter and Roger Clemens and Gary Puck and Kirby Puckett. Kirby Puckett. You had all those guys in the mid 80s. The Canadian version was a company called Leaf Chewing Gum at the time. Same kind of premise there, right? Same thought process. You can you can grab that lesser population card and grab it for more. I don't know about the staying power of that in hobby, right? Because we talk about supply and demand. I'm going to go all the way back almost 100 years on you guys. In 1933, Goudy Gum made a set. It was, I believe, a 140 card baseball card set that has 4 Babe Ruths in it. If anybody checks my post from last week, you'll see a couple of the cards, a couple of Lou Gehrig's in there, some major cards. The Goudy Gum Company made it, and they are like, iconic cards. A Canadian version of that set was made called Worldwide Gum. And it's exactly the same cards, only in the back, instead of it saying Goudy Gum, it says Worldwide Gum. Those cards are scarcer, especially in high pop, but they sell for less. So standing the test of time, scarcity for Canadian stuff, I don't know about. But for right now, people are definitely chasing those, the OPC over tops. And I think 80s hockey is definitely in that category where people are starting to put some money now.
Ryan Gibbons asks, looking into buying some 33 and 34 Goody for long.
I just said it. This is exactly this question. You could not have picked a better question. That's exactly the set I was talking about. 33 and 34 Goudy Gum.
Do you think it's a serious disadvantage buying these slab by SGC?
Yes.
Past few shows have been fire. Thank you, fellas.
Thanks. We appreciate that. Yeah. So vintage stuff, I buy PSA. Is it Kendrick Perkins? I get my Kendricks wrong, right? You saw that video, right? Is it Kendrick Perkins, Kendrick Lamar, or Kendrick whoever the Kendrick guy is? I think it's Kendrick Perkins. He says if it ain't PSA, go away, or whatever his rhyme is, right? Yes. In high grade, in mid grade, and low grade, I buy PSA and PSA only. And I gotta tell you, I was burned a couple times on some vintage cards where I bought, BVG, and the grade was significantly higher than a PSA. And it turned out when you did enough research on the card, the only reason why I was in a BVG case was because it was previously in I had the same. Just to go off on a little tangent here, guys, about my hobby history. I had a Mickey Mantle 52 tops in a BVG holder that previously was in a SGC 2 holder. It was a BVG 4.5 holder. Previously it was an SGC 2, and before that was in a PSA Authentic. So you tell me, So talk about subjective stuff. Talk about who knows what happened with that card. But after I found that out, I just returned the card, so I no longer own that card. But yeah, I mean, unfortunately, that experience has kind of jaded me. But if I see a vintage card in a hold that's other than PSA, I assume that it was already in a PSA holder at a lower grade than it's in a current SGC holder, or when it was sent to PSA said there was something wrong with the card, that it didn't meet that minimum size, that it was altered, that there was something wrong with it, and that people were just shopping it around and finally got SGC to put it in a holder. Now, again, I can't tell you that that's the case with all those cards, but if I were looking, why dumb it down? Get the best card and the best grade you can in the best holder, and for right now, that's PSA.
McNulty Gav. What's up, Gav? Can you explain why NBA Top Shot prices are going to the effing moon right now?
Honestly, I mean, I can. It might not be the explanation that everybody wants to hear. I'll take it 2 ways. Let's take it the good way and the bad way, right? Because you can't you expect nothing less when you tune in and Coffee with Cage, right? So the good way, it is something new, and everybody loves something new, and it is something different, and it is something for the youngsters in the hobby. If you got in your DeLorean and pumped it up to 1.21 gigawatts, right? And the flex capacitor was on there, and you went to the National 3 years ago, you'd see a very different hobby than you would today. Okay. You'd see a National that was boring, without a lot of fun, without a lot of personalities, no content creators, no craziness there. You'd see a bunch of older guys with boogers on their shirts, with binders full of old crusty cards, saying, buy the card, not the holder. Buy the card, not the holder. And it would be boring, and it wouldn't be anything like what it is today, right? And there's been an influx of youth, an influx of energy. Give a lot of credit where it's due. Give Gary Vee a lot of credit for putting a lot of energy in the National 2 years ago when he went in Chicago. A lot of the content creators, a lot of the new companies that are out there, a lot who we've had on our show. The hobby has changed, and my good answer is that this is the natural progression of the hobby. With the universal adoption of alternate investments Bitcoin, all the other altcoins that are out there, blockchain in and of itself. You combine that with a couple things. Number one, the log jams and problems that are created by the logistics of card transactions. You're talking about shipping things out. You're talking about PayPal. You're talking about you know, having people return their cards to you, having people having to refund their money. You're talking about holding your money, talking about all that stuff. You combine that with the fact that people are less enamored now with the physical, tangible object. And we talked about basketball, especially because Top Shot's basketball being, people are not watching the whole game. They're watching these highlights. They're watching these moments, right? They're watching these, Instagram clips, watching, these reels. It's a perfect storm. You have a perfect consumer, perfect customer base, somebody who's looking to get in and out of an investment as quickly as they can and as safely as they can with a no backsies type of rule to them. And they do not see a difference between a piece of cardboard with a picture on it and a video clip with a moment on it. As long as it has that blockchain serial number, they view it the same way they would as putting a card in their Star Stock portfolio or putting it in their PWCC vault. That is why the things have gotten that universal adoption. You pair that with a little bit of success, a little bit of FOMO, maybe a lot of FOMO, a lot of people talking about it, and just everybody who's gotten in so far having success with it, it generates a lot of fire and a lot of positive publicity. And onto that, the little secret sauce of the team behind it really clearly knows what they're doing. Because anytime there's a little bit of a slowdown, anytime there's a little bit of a doldrum, they throw some gasoline on the fire with a new pack, a new drop, a free gift, retiring moments, you name it, and just keep people engaged. And everyone I know, it's funny. I think of Top Shot like Howard Stern, right? I watched that movie, right? And people either love him or they hate him. And I go back to this line a million times. I told Andrew it because there are people out there who love me and probably more who hate me. But they did a thing that said the average Stern fan listens to Stern for an hour and a half. And when asked why they listen so long, they say because they want to hear what he's going to say next. They say the average Stern hater listens for 2 hours. And then when asked why, the answer they give is they want to hear what he's going to say next. It's the same thing with Top Shot, right? I mean, I've talked to a lot of people. I want to say a million people. I talked to a lot of people about it, and they all say the same thing. It's like I'm glued to it. I'm on it, and I'm on it for hours a day. I want to see what's going on. I'm on the marketplace. I'm watching the trends. And then I can't wait. I can't wait for what they're going to do next. They're going to drop some packs. They're going to do this. Whose moment's going to go up? When are they going to retire this moment? They just did an announcement yesterday. There's 154, 100 and whatever new moments coming out with new rookie players. Emmanuel Quickly, the first moment's going to be pretty limited. People are going to be chasing that. So they're doing what they need to do to keep the fire burning there. And that is, that's the key to, for more universal adoption and to keep it going. The bad end of it, I'll keep much shorter, is it's a closed universe right now with not a lot of people able to take their money out. So when people have no choice but to keep their money in, often that becomes, they have no choice but to reinvest. And if you have a universe where people just continuously put their money in, they're making more money, they're putting their money in, they're making more money, they're putting more money in, you have this situation where the tide just keeps rising, right? And that's what we have presently in Top Shot. Although we did talk to Jacob yesterday, a lot of people are able to withdraw, and there are more and more people able to withdraw every day. So once there's more, the ability to actually take your money out, and that that the prices keep climbing, that one little negative answer for you will go right out the window. And I have a feeling that it's more the first good answer than the bad. And as every day goes on and there's more people who join it and more people who get in and enjoy it, I lean more towards that it's definitely something that's here to stay, and the values are something that that are something that can be sustained. Great question, though.
Cage from Ryan Bitter. Ryan, one of our biggest fans. We appreciate all of your feedback. You're always engaged. Thank you, thank you, thank you. What are your 3 favorite eBay search terms?
Wow. So, it's funny, right? Because I've really kind of gone away from eBay recently. with the Top Shot, I definitely haven't looked at as many, cardboard based products in a while, and I definitely am not selling on it. But my favorite terms, it's funny if you go back and did like a most searched for me in eBay, Devontae would be probably number one still. The number one search term would still be Devontae for Devontae Graham. I'm a PSA 10 snob, so PSA 10 is definitely in there. And you know what I like to do just to get a general pulse. If I have 5-10 minutes and I got spare time just for research, I'll type in a PSA 10 and hit auction and rank by highest price. I used to be able to on eBay Mobile only sort by ones that had bids, which I don't think you can do anymore. They had that functionality. At least if someone knows how to do that, go ahead and send me a message and tell me how to do it on the mobile app, because I can't. But it used to be you could type in, auction only, highest, and who had bids. And you can kind of see what people are actually buying that way. It's, not just, hey, what's the highest price? Because you can list anything for anything. I mean, there was a PSA 10 Jose Uribe 1990 Flair card for $1 million for the longest time. That doesn't mean that's what it's worth. I think it's like a $4 card. But when you do it with auctions, you kind of see, what's selling, what's hot, what's out there, what the population is. So every once in a while, I'll actually just plug that in, PSA, and put auction, and then see what's getting bid up. There are some cool sources out there. I type into just my Safari. I type in, top most watched eBay auctions every now and again. And it'll pop up, there's like a sports card page that'll give you the top 50 most watched eBay auctions. And I'll check that out too, just to see what's out there as far as like a high end stuff. But I don't really have like a favorites. And believe it or not, guys, I don't have like saved searches. I don't have like, I get an alert from eBay when this pops up or that pops up. I'm probably missing out on a couple of cards because of that, but I don't have that. I used to, but I found for some reason every time that I got the email, whatever it was that I had as a saved search was gone by the time that I clicked on it. So, I found it to be kind of like not a timely helper for me. I guess I got to put notifications on or do something better with the eBay app. But I don't really, I wish I had a more fun answer for you. I'm not currently hunting any specific player or card. That
He searches Ronda Rousey cards all day.
I used to, not anymore.
Plant Street Collectibles asks, and shout out to Plant Street. He's working with eBay. I believe he got a grant with them. I don't know the details of it, but he seemed excited as a fan of ours. We're excited for him. And he asked, I'm wondering how he knows this. He says, Cage, according to eBay, soccer cards went up over 1,500% in total sales in 2020, higher than any other sports category. Pokemon cards are up nearly 600% in total sales. How do you continue to see those markets moving over the next year? What is one card in each category you would buy right now?
So I like the question. I think both of them are going to have a good year. We've talked about both soccer and Pokemon this year. This is the 25th anniversary of the 1996, introduction of the first Pokemon cards, the first mainstream, that Japanese set. I know there were some cards from 1995, but this is, well regarded now as the 25th anniversary of Pokemon. You got Logan Paul still buying boxes, still putting them out there, still breaking packs. You got people still talking about it. We saw a huge run up with it last year. Supply hit the market, and if you look now, that there's nowhere near as much supply on eBay and on the market as there was at the end of the year. I mean, it basically felt like somebody was breaking up a first edition PSA 10 set every month, if not more than one a month at the end of 2020. So that supply has been kind of eaten up, and you're gonna see, I think, another increase this year. Same with soccer. And I think the reason why, by the way, Plant Street, that in 2020, those two areas saw the run up is because they just had no real purchase history before last year. People just weren't buying them in the amount they were buying. Everyone has been buying baseball cards for a while, basketball cards, football cards for a while. These were those other markets that people looked to in 2020 that just previously weren't looked at. And I think, if you look at 2021, the higher percentage gainer might be Marvel cards or something else silly like that. You know what I mean? Maybe tennis cards. We'll see a larger percent increase gain because everybody's always looking for what's going to be next. Soccer, we talked about the Euro Cup. Soccer, I'm starting to see people pay attention to it. People, Mbappe had a great game, he had a hat trick, and look at the cards go up. So I think soccer with all of the events that are coming this year and next year, and as we open the world up to more live events and more games and less cancellations, soccer will be one where people look to put their money. I do not watch soccer. I do not follow soccer. There are too many leagues and too many teams and too many games for me to become an expert in it. So I don't have much invested in soccer. I mistakenly sold a Pele rookie way too soon, and I've sold out of almost all my Mbappe's probably too cheap. I will tell you, I got a nice chunk of Mason Greenwood sitting at PSA for the better part of a year already. So when that comes back, I'll have those to sell for everybody. But other than that, I'm not really putting too much into soccer myself. But I'm sure it's going to have a good year.
Paige, just to save $10, this is a question from Cough Sports. Is it really worth sending cards on 45 day just to save $10-15 when you could pay an extra $10 and have that card back significantly faster?
So I will tell you, it depends on the card and it depends on what you're doing with the card, right? So, if it's a card you're planning on selling it and getting as much as you can get as soon as you get it back, and it's a card that is currently hot or you think will be hot soon, then yes, the fact that you get it back sooner is probably going to make up for that $15 difference. If, however, it's a card that you're grading that you think is just going to continue to slowly go up, right? You don't think it's going to be something that you need to strike while the iron's hot, or it's something that you're going to have in your own personal collection, then to me, I grade as cheaply as I can because it cuts into your profits. So really, the answer to your question is not cookie cutter. It depends on what your plan is to do with that card, and a little wrinkle of it depends on where you are, right? So if you're buying baseball cards at the end of the regular season on a guy who you think he has no shot at making the playoffs, right? And you are buying them raw because you want to grade them and you want to have them by next season, which is going to be, I don't know, 10 months away. I think I feel comfortable going with a 45 day on that, rather than having to pay for a 20-day. Although you never know, right? With the PSA backlog, it really just depends on what you're planning to do with the cards and how fast you want to get it back. I do get it. And with the way that the market is always changing, I personally have started to move towards that 20-day from the 45-day myself. So it's a great question.
From Grail Chaser, Ozzy, with non-sport getting gobbled up, box price is expected to hit $3K on Prism, quality control at an all-time low, and the PSA rumored to be taking a substantial price increase Monday. Do you think this is going to drive off flippers on base cards?
I've heard a lot of rumor and talk about this PSA increase. I don't know where it starts from. I mean, I guess people kind of know. I don't know. But yes, I think that you're already seeing, even without a price increase, I think you're already seeing people not grading every single card. When it was, you can send out a card for $8 and, you got it back in a couple of months. And no matter what, if it was a PSA 10, you were making money on it. People sent in every single card. I mean, I've seen people open up their PSA returns recently where, I saw a Devin Booker 2020 Prism base card being graded. I'm like, what? Like who sent that? Why would you send that? But I'm sure for the $8 they sent, it was a PSA 10. I'm sure they're going to probably get back more than $8 when they list it on eBay. But if somebody's, raising the prices on those things and they got to wait a year to get a card like that back, I think you're going to see a little bit of a change in the trends. I think PSA should be careful. I mean, right now they're the only game in town, I think, right? But there are upstarts. There are other people coming into the hobby. And I think what you may see are some of these other companies start to develop a corner of the market that they're better at, right? So what is it? CGC? Is that the one that comes off from the coins one, right? And they did comics, right? So maybe
your mic is brushing against your shirt.
Sorry, man. Maybe they become an expert, or they siphon off Marvel comic cards, Pokemon cards, and people notice that those cards, in that flip are selling for 95% of what PSA 10s sell for. And you get them back in a third of the time, and they cost, less money than what PSA's new pricing is. well, then maybe those guys are going to become the go-to card grading company for that area of the hobby. And as long as people recognize them as such, PSA will lose that little bit of the, a little bit of the hobby. Maybe, I don't know, maybe SGC will be the ones people go to for hockey or soccer or something. I don't have the answer, but I know this, that people are less willing to deviate from PSA now, but the longer the wait times become and the more expensive they get, the more people will be willing to try something else.
I love it. What's sealed from Sari? Sari sells. SARIY sells. What sealed wax plays do you recommend, Cage? Not retail.
The last sealed wax I bought, and I mentioned it on the David Peck interview, which I guess, if you're not a wrestling guy, maybe you didn't listen to that, but you can still get them for less than $50. I love it. Because I don't like buying sealed wax to keep it sealed. I like buying sealed wax to open it up and make money on it. But I bought a 1991 WCW sealed. It's like purple neon colored, like purple for perfect for the time. Late 80s, early 90s. Everybody was into neon, and it's got Sting and Ric Flair and all these crazy guys in it from that era. And the PSA 10 sold for, one PSA 10 sells for twice what the box price are. And, Sting and Ric Flair have multiple cards in there. You're going to get those guys' cards. And, if you buy a box, I'm telling you, I see them on eBay, $49 last time I looked. So, that's one sealed wax that I'm looking at. Sealed to keep closed. People are still gambling on those Marvel 1990 boxes. I've heard a lot of people compare those to, early Pokemon boxes, saying that those are going to go up. I have those. I can't believe that they've run the way that they've run. I don't know that I'd be buying into a box now at 3,000 or, whatever it may be. Wow. How many bags of Lego are you going to open, dude? It's like a Lego waterfall over here. So, yeah. So, I mean, as far as that goes, sealed wax is the worst thing to ask me about because I'm such a gambler that I can't keep stuff sealed. Like I'll open it up. I had sealed Top Shot packs and they're all open now, so I couldn't even keep those closed. As far as bargain wise, sealed stuff. How about this, guys? Hot off the presses. If you actually listen to us and you've hopefully made some money off of us because you're getting plays that people don't give you. If you're gonna spend the money on sealed wax, how about this? Start looking for sealed Tiffany sets of Topps cards. Go look for a 1987 Topps Tiffany baseball set. They came in sealed factory sets. They were cool, like one solid color with like a gold foil seal on them. Look for a 1985 Topps Tiffany set, right? Because what you'll notice, the reason why sealed boxes go for what they go for is for the opportunity to get a potential PSA 10 in there when you open it up, right? And you're buying the entire draft class. You're buying the whole deal, right? So people pay what they pay for a 1986 Fleer set, a Fleer sealed box, because there's a Michael Jordan PSA 10, or maybe multiples, right? Maybe there's not. The Topps Tiffany cards of Barry Bonds, I think at 86 Topps traded Tiffany Bonds just sold for $16,000. The Roger Clemens from 85 Topps is going to have Clemens. It's got Gooden. It's got a ton of guys in there. Their rookie cards, Kirby Puckett. And you get one of each in that sealed set. And it's almost the same kind of thing as sealed wax, right? Because people aren't buying sealed wax now because maybe I'll get the guy. They're thinking maybe I'll get the guy in a PSA 10. It's almost the same kind of thought process in those Topps Tiffany sets. Same thing with a Fleer, glossy sets. So that I don't hear too many people talking about that. I know people want to talk about sealed wax because it's better for breakers. You know what I mean? Like you could break boxes, you break packs, and you're not really breaking a Tiffany set. But if you're somebody who's buying it to sell later on because you think that the Michael Jordan PSA 10 is going to go up, so let me buy a sealed box because that's a way of buying it on the potential that it's in there. The same kind of argument goes if you wanted to buy sealed Tiffany sets. So just a different way. I know it's not exactly the question, but I want to give the audience a nice other way to play the quote sealed chase. And I don't think a lot of people are in that now. So now that I've said it, that'll be a big thing next week. Sealed Tiffany sets. Are you looking them up on eBay by any chance? You trying to grab some?
Not yet. Jake Cardboard Dreams asks, Give us your prediction for the MLB season to win the World Series and what teams are overrated.
You know, I hate being chalk, right? But I had both the Chiefs and the Bucks going far in football this past year. I think I had the Bucks losing in the NFC Championship game. I think I had the Chiefs maybe going to the Super Bowl. I'd have to go back to episode 55, but I had both of those guys going far. And I'm pretty sure I had the Dodgers winning the whole thing. I might have had the Yankees and the Rays in the championship. It's been very, very chalky in sports recently. And I don't know if you guys have noticed, but the Dodgers, Vegas installed them to have the most regular season wins of any team in the last 30 years. I think they set the over-under on wins at 104.5 wins, which in baseball, that's pretty crazy. And I have a feeling they probably beat it. To win 105 games in 162 means that team, they got the pitching. Look at the pitching that they added this year. They added the last Cy Young, and they're throwing in David Price, who has won a Cy Young, but just didn't pitch last year because of he opted out because of COVID. I mean, that team won the World Series and just got significantly better. So it's very hard to bet against them. I think the Yankees got a little bit better. I think Tampa Bay is always a great team. I think the Mets got a lot better. I think if I were betting on the World Series, I would say that the Dodgers are going to win the series just because they're the returning champs, just like the Lakers, and they actually got better, just like the Lakers did. So it's tough to go against that. I know that's not a big deal, but if you listen to my basketball preview, I said the most overrated team this year was going to be the Hawks. They were like the Browns from a year prior. I said they were the hot team. Everybody's talking about them, the young talent, the young studs, and that they were going to be terrible. I called the Hawks being overrated before anyone. I don't care what anybody says. People are on that now. I said the Hawks were going to win, 20-something games. I said they might not improve from their 22 or 23 wins they had last year. And I've been right about that. A team that I think is going to underperform this year. You ready for this? San Diego Padres. I think it's very hard. Very hard for a team to live up to the hype that they have. People are saying that that's the team to knock the Dodgers off. And while I think they're going to be very good, it's an easy call for me to say they're overrated just because they are hyped so much this year. And you guys know how much I love Tatis, but it's very hard when the beginning of the season a team has such high expectations. It's very hard to meet those. And more often than not, you're seeing with, a team like the Browns 2 years ago when they signed OBJ and they put Baker Mayfield in there with such great weapons, and they were coming off of a hot end to the season the year before. They were a dud, right? And the same thing with the Hawks now. And you got to look at that from a hobby perspective, right? I say Tatis is exactly the same as Mayfield was 2 years ago, and as Trae Young was last year. These were the hobby darlings, the young stars who were on a team that was not that good, but they're going to overperform. They're going to keep going. They're going to take the next step, right? And unfortunately, look what happened to the prices of those guys after they failed a little bit. And what's worse is, look what happened. Baker Mayfield came back last year, right? This past season, the Browns were really good. Baker played well. They did what people thought they were going to do the year before. But I haven't heard anybody talk about Baker Mayfield in the hobby the way that they were talking about him the year before. I mean, he was the clear-cut quarterback guy. Right now, is he even mentioned in like top 10 hobby quarterbacks? You got all these young guys. So there's a fun little hobby lesson to be learned there. I think, they talk about with stocks, right? That when stocks have earnings coming up, stocks are, they're going up. A stock is priced for perfection. You ever heard that phrase? You're a trader. A stock is priced for perfection, right? I think that
it usually happens when some institutional money comes in, right, and buys up a lot of shares.
Yep.
This is now because I'm not going to rant. Keep going. Sorry, Cage.
No, you're right, but what you're saying is right. Institutions are on it. Everybody's backing that horse, and it's very difficult to actually deliver on what everyone's expectations are. Now, San Diego did a lot of great things this offseason. They got a lot of really good young talent, but I just think if I'm a betting man, that's an easy call for me to say that they're overrated, that they're going to have one blip, one bad injury, one pitching issue, one elbow flare up, away from significantly underperforming what people are going to be. I don't know what the over under was set for the Padres wins. It's probably in the high 90s, maybe even 100, 102, some crazy number. I would be an under better on the Padres total wins this year.
Because it's not as much being a believer, non-believer. It's just what we're looking for is also undervalued, overvalued, or properly valued as well in the market. So yeah, absolutely. I love it. Cage, Dad 1055, who was in our Marvel break.
In the Marvel break.
Interesting guy, interesting fella. If you're listening to this, I like your style, Dad 10. Will the prices of the 94 Jeter start going up, or is the market only for the 93? The low pop on the 94s. Can I say something real quick and you'll go? Guys,
yeah, go ahead.
There's a higher level of reading pop reports. You can't just take the pop reports and be like, they're low pop. A lot of times they're low pop because no one gave an F about this card. No one subbed this card. This wasn't from a subbing era. So just keep that in mind. A second thing, sometimes there's low pop, but SGC and BGS also graded that card. So it's actually triple the pop that you see on the PSA website. Get to a higher level of reading pop versus just going to PSA being like, boom, low pop, buy.
I love it. I mean, it makes sense, right? So Jeter's a fun one, right? Because Jeter is one of those guys that people will buy in baseball, even though baseball is not the go-to product, right? So to me, Jeter's got enough cards in other years where people don't have to buy the 1994 card, the second-year card. We talked about the 1992 Little Sun. He's got also a 1992 Front Row cards. If you look on eBay now, guys, in the last 2 months, a 1992 Little Sun Jeter and PSA 10, which I think has a pop of 58, sold for $12,500. So back to your minor league stuff, right? So that's a 92. And one of the front rows sold for I think, even more. But he's got the SP card. He's got the Topps Gold, which is flying like crazy as well. There's no real need to go into 94. Plus, there's enough 93 rookies out there. He's got a Pinnacle card. He's got Upper Deck cards. He's got the Upper Deck with the Gold Hollow. He's got so many cards in 1993 that people are, willing to pay plenty of money for, that they don't have to go to 94. And what I've noticed is, skipping 94 and 95, the 96 cards. So that's when you started to get those cool numbered parallels, like the 1996 certified, the reds, the mirror reds, the mirror golds, and those kind of cards. Those are the next cards that I see moving for Jeter, and even beyond that, you're gonna like this, Andrew, because you're a fan of like the Topps Chrome. I've seen some of the Topps Chrome from the early 2000s, like 2005 Topps Chrome refractors, X-fractors, those type of things with cool images. The 2005 one is one of the best ones. He's like turning a double play and he's kind of jumping to get out of the way. I think the Superfractor sold a week or two ago on eBay for like $20,000. And that's like a 12th year card of him, but it's a cool looking card. So unfortunately, my answer for you is on the 94s. They may go up, but it's definitely not the first, second, third, or it appears fourth place for people to put money on Jeter. There's enough places for people to put money. There's plenty of 93s. There's some 92s. There's 96s, and then there's Topps Chromes later on that people seem to like. Like people buying Kobe and LeBron, they buy a Jeter Topps Chrome as well. So, while I'm sure 94 is a quote unquote second year card of his, we'll probably see some increases. If I'm Jeter investing, there are a ton other places to put my money. I think you're on mute.
Luka Legend 77 asks, is it still a good time to buy vintage, or is it time to buy ultramodern?
So I hate timing the market, but I will tell you, if you haven't looked, I think Conrad's Cards posted something either late yesterday or early today about this as well. There's going to be a time to get into modern. Now is that time, I think he wrote. It's something I've been watching, right? Because we've talked about this, right? We've talked about how, vintage has run and the gap between the card prices has gotten so much bigger, and people will start to look back at modern. Andrew, you predicted this perfectly. You talked about the basketball season being in 3/3, right? You said that there's that beginning third where there the hype and the lead up into the season, and then that beginning third, and that's where prices are up and prices hit their peak. And then you have that second third where prices are down. People are looking at it. It's like the dog days of summer almost for baseball, right? Same thing happens. But then you get into that later third, after the All-Star break peaks people's attention a little bit, and you get into that playoff run where some of these rookies might actually be able to go into the playoffs, and people people will start looking at the cards again, and the cards start to go back up. We're about to run into that, and people are trying to get ahead of that, and I'm already seeing some of the modern cards start to move up because of that. And so, yeah, I mean, I think it is definitely time to, if you've made your money on vintage and it's not a vintage coat that you want to hold forever and you think is going to go up more than modern, it's definitely time to think about taking some money off the table on vintage and moving it into quality modern cards that have seen a little bit of a dip but have the potential to move back up. And I say quality modern. That doesn't mean go out there and sell your Kobe rookie cards because they've run, and go out there and buy a whole bunch of Brandon Clark, Darius Baisley, Cam Reddish, DeAndre Hunter. These are all guys that have potential for upside, but they're also guys who have potential to fall to nothing. So, you know what I mean with quality.
My
modern.
humble opinion is this. So, and this is something I've learned, and I've done pretty poorly actually, and in my experience.
Well, that's the best way to learn.
Yeah, it really is. So, notoriously, I think that there's a bottom, and the bottom's actually 10, 20, 30% lower. And if you have just a slight bit of patience and belief that you won't miss the bottom, I don't think the bottoms come from modern now. I think the bottom is still another 30% down. I think it's like a fake out, I think it's kind of bottomed out a little bit. I think it's going to go a little bit lower. I really do. PSA has so many of these cards that are going to be coming back, not just the Prism, because you guys got to remember, the modern market has Prism, it has Select, it has Mosaic, it has Optic. So everyone there has all of their cards at PSA. PSA slowly unwrapping that and sending cards back, and people are just flooding the market. There's so many modern cards. I think there's a new bottom to be found. Be a little bit more patient. Wait a bit more. Wait till it really bottoms out and actually starts going back up. And I think you're going to buy at below what this point is.
All right. Listen, it makes sense. I mean, the thought is, and if Andrew's right, and you're patient enough and don't need to be greedy, you'll know when the bottom is, because you'll see a little bit of a sustained start to march up. And if you jump in at that time, sure, maybe you didn't time it perfectly that you got the full bottom, but you will buy in as it's going up. And maybe you didn't buy at the bottom itself. Okay.
It's a huge point. And let's talk about it. Let's use John Morant right now. Yep. His Prism is $450. Let's say you're sitting there thinking, like, that's crazy. I want to buy at this price. Wait, give it a week, give it 2 weeks, give it 3 weeks. Watch those auctions. And you might start seeing it go 420, 410, 400, 350. It hits 325 on the low auction, and then it bounces back to 375. You're still getting it at cheaper than you're getting it today, but you're getting it on the upswing. You found the bottom, and now you're getting on an upswing, and it's cheaper than it was. Sure, you didn't time the bottom, but you got a key piece of information that will help you avoid huge losses.
I love it. I love it because you buy at 450 now and it goes down to 400. You now have to wait for it to go back up just to get in at your price. But if you don't buy and it goes down to 400, maybe you don't catch it at 400. Maybe you wait and you got to catch it at 425 on its way back up.
Yep.
Yeah, you didn't catch all the gains, but you're not having to make up for losses. So
I like it big. You've read the market. Absolutely. Goldie finger cards. We only have 2 more here. I'm going to check if any late people came in, but this is perfect right at an hour. Goldie Finger Cards asks, would you rather have one really good card or a bunch of lower end of the same player? And I'm going to add a twist to this. Same question applies to Top Shot.
All right, so it may be different answers. Actually, you know what? It's probably the same answer. My answer changes depending on the wind. If you had asked me that question last year, liquidity would have dictated, what I would have said. And I'll give real world example, right? I have a ton of Tatis PSA 10 base rookie cards, right? But I would rather, for my own collection, which I think is where you're going, I'd rather for my own collection have a gold PSA 10. That better, that one. So I am selling some of my base 10s to buy a gold 10. Now, I like that idea. I think it's better to consolidate. I think it's always we talk about the flight to quality to buy, the best card you can. But I think it's easier to have some of those smaller cards sometimes. One, I think there's liquidity, and two, what you get from those smaller cards, instead of, let's say, one three, I'm just gonna use round numbers, one $3,000 gold PSA 10 as opposed to 10 $300 PSA 10s, right? If you're just holding that gold and you want to get out of Tatis, fine, you can sell it. You can sell the one Tatis, and you get 3,000, maybe you get 2,800, maybe you get 3,200. You name it. You're up, you're down, you're whatever you are on that card. If you are a semi-believer in Tatis, or you think his cards have gone up this week a lot because his contract, his 14-year, $340 million deal was just announced, and you think for whatever reason that's got some headlines, some pressure on it, people looking at him, you don't want to completely liquidate him, but you want to take advantage of that price spike. If you have that gold card, you can't do that because you're all in with that one card. But if you have 10 of his base cards, you can sell 4 of them. You can sell 6 of them and keep 4. You can take advantage of the hype. And if it turns out that the card sells for more now, and then in a week or two, going back to one of our first questions, the card goes down a little bit and you want to buy back in cheaper and lock in price, you can. If it turns out that you were wrong and the card just continued to go up, you still have some of yours at that higher price. You consolidate to one bigger item, you lose that. You also lose a little bit of the market because there are less players at that higher price than there are at the lower one, right? So there are more people willing to buy a $300 card than there are willing to buy a $3,000 card. And you're noticing, you said with Top Shot, it's the same exact thing, right? So there are Luka cards that are $300. There are Luka cards that are $3,000, and there are Luka cards that are going to be 300,000. I think there's like a $100,000 Luka card. Just like any pyramid, as you go up in price, the amount of people who are willing to spend on those higher cards is also less. Your potential buyers are less at that level, which makes it tougher to liquidate. It makes it tougher to get out on, unless sometimes you're willing to take less money than you otherwise would have been able to take. So those are the things that go into the math of, do I want one big one, or do I want do I want a bunch of smaller ones? The positive on the one big one is, if you get that one big one and it's a real big one, even though there's less people to sell it to, the people that you're talking about buying those bigger cards, if you get 2 of them wanting that one card and it's a big enough card, you could get some real price explosion if you're talking about a better card, right? I mean, look at that gold that we were talking about on Tatis, right? That was like $1,000 or a $1,200 card, a couple months ago, and it has gone up significantly because people want it, and I think it percent wise, it's probably gone up more than the base card has. So, hope that answers your question.
It absolutely did. Let me just see last few questions here. Paige, I have a question for you. Serial numbers on Top Shot. Help me understand. How do they matter? Why do they matter? How should I go about them? I know that low from 0 to 100 is important, but then, the LeBron moment, the tribute dunk to Kobe. What about the serial numbers in the 800s, right? That's kind of cool because that has 8 for Kobe. Like, how does
Listen, I got to tell you, I'm not a serial number guy. I get this, the first serial number. I can understand some people. I've sold the last serial number to, like $39.99 out of $39.99. I've sold to some people. The jersey number I get, because in cards, those are the ones that really matter, right? I can understand, I guess, people wanting to, look for low serial numbers. The thing is, Top Shot's so new, you never know what's going to come out of it, right? So there is no PSA 10. Everything's a PSA 10. For all I know, people are going to put PSA 10 premiums on the serial numbers that are the top 5% of the minting. right? So if a card has 4,000 of them, the top 200 of that card are going to sell for more. At the time, I sold a Lamelo number 183 out of 4,000 for like 2,400, and I'm like, wow, that's huge money. Now that's cheap. I think the regular cards are more than that, but at the time, the floor of the regular serial was like 800. It's over like 3x of what what the other ones were selling for, and I thought that was absurd. I mean, what's serial number 183? How is that worth any kind of a premium? But you never know what Top Shot's going to do with this stuff. Like they could turn those serial numbers into like views of the moment. What if single digit serial numbers became like a courtside view of the moment? You know what I mean? Like that like Select has courtside, and like the next tier level. What if 10 to 100 gets mezzanine level view of the moment? Like you really never know what they could turn it into. So I can tell you, people are definitely paying premiums for the lower serial numbers. And I've definitely sold a couple of them probably cheaper than I should have.
Do you think that will only apply for like really, really iconic cards, or do you think across the board, maybe?
No, it applies for everything. I've sold low serial numbers and weird serial numbers, for, I mean, it's cheap now, but when I first started opening the series 2-packs, I got a Devin Vassell. I got number 7. It wasn't his jersey number. It was a single digit, the only single digit one that I got. And I sold the moment for 7 times what the floor was. And I'm like, it's number 7. I mean, I get it. But now, of course, because everything's gone up, I sold it for cheaper than what the floor is now for any serial number. So that person obviously got a good buy on it if they're still holding it. I think people are paying premium no matter what moment it is. I mean, I got a premium on an Andrew Wiggins moment. I don't know what the hell he was doing in the moment. He might have been sitting on the bench picking his nose. So, and I still got a premium for it.
We're going to end with 2 more Top Shot questions. Do you want the one that might frustrate you or the other one?
Listen, nothing frustrates me. The best part about this is I don't read these questions. That's one. And 2, you're really going to get a top of mind answer. So, if it's something that frustrates me, let's go. Let's rock and roll.
All right. I'll save the last one. The LaMelo Ball rookie moment.
Mm-hmm.
The assist.
Yep.
That's not a moment. That is a pass of the ball to Gordon Hayward, who makes the shot. Are you worried that should be $0.00?
No. So LaMelo Ball's a point guard, right? So point guards they create assists, and why not?
That was not an assist.
Why not put in his first assist? I mean, and even that to me. So what's funny about it, guys? I think what makes Top Shot the collectible that it is has really nothing to do with the moments. Sure, there are some iconic moments, and they're going to do a better job of capturing those quote-unquote iconic moments. But people are paying $15,000 now for LeBron dunking on the Sacramento Kings in some random game. Nobody cares who.
That was not some random game. He made the Kings player his. Well,
that's fine. So who was the player? Who was the player? Who was the player?
Don't Lefko me. Don't Lefko me.
But that's what I mean. So, but that's Lefko makes a great point. But he's making the point to say that the moments are stupid and Top Shot is stupid. I'm not saying that. I'm saying in response to LaMelo Ball, that's not an assist. I don't think people care right now. People can't get LaMelo Ball Prism cards. Right. The real question should be: am I worried about that card going down when people can get a LaMelo Ball Prism PSA 10? Because right now, people are not buying his draft card anymore. People are not paying money for his hoops cards or his certified cards. I mean, they kind of are. But Top Shot is the way to invest in LaMelo Ball right now. And I think what you're noticing is people bought GameStop stock. They didn't buy it because they wanted to have a tangible piece of game stock, right? They bought it because they thought they were going to be able to sell it for more money than what they were paying for, whether it was a tangible asset or not. Those are the people who are buying Top Shot. And they're buying LaMelo not because it's a cool moment, but because they have LaMelo's name attached to it at a price, and they think they're going to be able to sell it at a price higher in a day, a week, a month. So
that I get, but man, could they have not picked a better moment, like a alley-oop to Mikal Bridges?
Listen, some people like Hayward more than Bridges. For as many people out there that think that's a stupid moment, there are many people out there who
that was really Hayward's moment. If you guys go on Top Shot, send Cage a DM. Look at this moment. It's the only LaMelo moment out there. I can't believe they picked that one. Last question. I love this.
Do its first assist. By the way, before we get off that, you've actually brought up a good point and a play on Top Shot. There are moments out there. I personally don't buy into this, but people are, and when people are, that it creates money. There are moments out there that are a moment for a specific player, but they involve someone else. They are moments of like KCP passing it to LeBron and LeBron dunking. Just like you said, that's not really a LaMelo moment. It's a Gordon Hayward moment. There are moments of Alex Caruso passing it to LeBron. There are moments of people blocking LeBron. What is it? Is it the Jones Jr. one? He blocks LeBron right in the moment. And there are people paying premiums for those moments, not because it's Derek Jones Jr. or Alex Caruso, but because it has that star, LeBron, in the moment. And that's a cool other way of playing Top Shot.
Well, it's kind of like that Sam Vincent card, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I love when you say exactly to me. It makes me feel really confident.
Well, you should. Dribble. You're right. You're 100% exactly right.
Daily Dribble asks, tell us how you're using market cap on Top Shot.
I'm not. I'm 100% not. I'm not using market cap on Top Shot at all. I'm mindful of how many are out there and how much people are paying for them. I'm less market cap and more. I do an ongoing comparison of like PSA 10 rookie cards, right? So use Ja for example, because you just had him, right? And Ja's a $450 or $500 PSA 10. And how many of them are out there? 10,000 PSA 10s, and even more, just total grades. If a Ja Morant and how many silvers there are and that kind of stuff, but Ja Morant Series 1 Top Shot, I think it was out of 1,000. You know what I mean? There's only 1,000, only ever going to be 1,000, and so there should be a price on that. Right? I think it's like $2,000 or $2,500 now. When it was $500, it was a bargain, and I bought one. Those are the kind of analysis that I do. I compare them to the population and the price of a tangible asset of the same guy. I'm not dealing with the market cap of these things. I am mindful of insiders, and it's one of the cooler things of Top Shot. You can go look at what the CEO of Dapper Labs owns in his collection. Just type in that intangible market or evaluate.market, type in Roham, and you'll see what he's holding, which is a very cool aspect of it. So yeah, I mean, I wish I had a better explanation of, how I'm factoring in market cap and the whole deal. The market cap is huge. It's really gotten ahead of itself. But I think the thing has legs. What do you think, man? I mean, it's called the game. What do you think about the legs on it? Go for it.
Well, so you'll look at like a LeBron James. He has 2 moments in Series 2. Mm-hmm. Same release. Both base set. Now, one is a little bit, so one's December 22nd, the other's January 12th. But this is on market cap, right? One moment is out of 15,000, and that's 785 is the lowest ask. The other moment is exactly half. It's 7,500. So that is kind of interesting, Cage, right? Because in theory, all else equal, ceteris paribus, as they say in econ, which I never understood, because nothing is always equal. Those should be exactly double or half the price of each other, right? In theory.
Yes. I don't want to say exactly because it pisses you off. It's funny because I have a friend who's on Top Shot that I brought into it. Same time I said you should get in, and he asked me about that last night as well. He's like, tell me why I should not be selling my LeBron out of 15,000 right now, adding what was at the time like $100. Because one was at 800, one was at 900. Why? And I'm like, I have absolutely no answer for you. There is no reason other than perceived scarcity because everybody is making a run now at the one that's out of 1,500. It was just announced LE. There are still some in packs, so there are not as many available in the marketplace. But yeah, that is a market inefficiency that should be exploited, should be taken advantage of. So go ahead.
You guys have heard high frequency traders, right? Computer algorithms, bots. You need to understand, and the answer to this question is more info than like do this or do that. The stock market is highly liquid, right? There's so many buyers, so many sellers. So these arbitrage opportunities, that's what this is. This is called an arbitrage opportunity. This should be trading at, 2 to 1 or half, and it's not. And it's an arbitrage opportunity. In the stock market, because there's so much liquidity, they get swept up like that. on Top Shot, what's cool is it sits in between the stock market, but also eBay. Arbitrage opportunities on eBay and in sports cards are way more prevalent because of how few people are in the hobby. And simultaneously, you can't just buy an asset. You buy the asset, it has to get shipped to you. There's this whole process. But what's cool about Top Shot is there are arbitrage opportunities all the time, but they actually get swept up or taken up way faster than they do with sports cards, but a little bit slower than in stock market. I think that's what people like. You're on mute.
I agree, because you can actually take advantage of it even when you're not a robot, and in the and it's there's more to it than just looking for something that's listed for $1 or $2 lower than the lowest price of a common thing. There's a comparison to it, right? It's something a robot is not programmed to do. Yes, if somebody lists a $100 moment for 95, it's going to get scooped up by a bot. But the same thing was going on with Zion last night. He's got a 7,500 and one that's out of 15,000, and the one that was out of 15,000 was like, selling for 80% or 85% of the one that was got half as many out there. So that was another inefficiency. Sell the one that's
thinking about him, Paige. I'm thinking Series 1 is like immaculate and national treasures. I'm thinking Series 2 out of 7,500 is like a Prism Silver. I'm thinking the out of 15,000 is like the Prism Base. That's kind of how I formulated it in my mind to give it a little of a comparison to regular sports.
It's funny. I woke up this morning thinking, when are we going to get an email? Because Ken Golden sends out emails of, hey, I just added additional lots. When are we getting an email from Ken Golden saying that he's working with Top Shot to bring an auction of a complete Series 1 set to Golden Auctions? A complete Series 1 Top Shot set. And how much is that going to sell for? Pretty crazy.
It would be pretty cool. But like here's how I would look for arbitrage opportunities, right? So like you could compare Series 2 to Series 2, but also ratio of Series 1 to Series 2, right? So like I'm looking at Darius Baisley right now. The Series 2 moment is $12, 13, 14. His Series 1 actually shot up to 400, and he only has those 2 moments. So I'm curious, how does that relate to other players? That feels off the top of my head too big. Another guy I'm looking at is RJ Barrett, right? He doesn't have as many moments as Zion, and RJ Barrett's Series 2 is trading at 35, where Zion's is trading at 250. So I'm looking at arbitrage all the time. There is some level of, you kind of have to be involved and you have to be in the game. But I love it. I look at market cap a lot. I look at, ratios and proportion and things like that. So
the only hesitancy I would have with those are both of the guys you named were rookies last year, and rookies carry significant more multiples. So those were rookies, and this is now their second year. But you're right. And how many times have I talked about Kobe White? I've probably said it a dozen times. I said it in our group. Go out there now and buy the Kobe White Series 2 for $3. There were 15,000 of them. There was anybody listening to our show and any Top Shot analysis for the last month could have bought as many Kobe Whites for $3 as they wanted to. I had almost 200 of them. And yesterday it went to limited edition from CC, and it was as high as like $22, $24. I think it's still around $20 today. And you could have bought as many of them as you wanted at $3 each. Same thing. Your Baisleys were the same price, and really the same analysis you did. I mean, the Kobe White cards were when he was $3. The Series 1s were 200. Now they're like 400, and you could buy the Series 2 for 20.
Last thing, if you guys want to like little Top Shot advice, let's take Kobe White for example, right? Mm-hmm. He has 1 Series 2 moment out of 15,000, but John Morant, he has 2 Series 2 moments. He has 1 out of 7,500, and he has 1 out of 15,000. These little nuances you have to pick up. These are very important. Do with the information as you wish. Darius Baisley, he only had 1 Series 1 moment. He only really had 1 moment out there. Julius Randle's another guy that I think is super underpriced because he doesn't have a ton of moments, and his Series 1 moment is $200 to $250. So just some things I'm thinking about, Paige. You're looking at me with a death stare. Did I just give away?
No, I'm reading a text. I got people texting me. It says, "Let's see if I regret this. I sold my last Zion layup to 7,500. I paid $64 and just sold it for $380. I bought a Cousins Cool Cat. Going to use the $100 difference to gamble on some low dollar Series 2 that may end up Cool Cat challenges going forward, or put it towards a second."
May I answer? You are going to absolutely
please
regret investing in DeMarcus Cousins.
It's a cool cat. It's just for the challenge. You'll get the Anthony Davis. That's all.
I do not like DeMarcus Cousins at all.
You know what? I like that we're talking about it. I like that there are people asking questions about it. There are people because it's something different. 5 weeks ago, I didn't even know what it was. On Coffee with Cage, it got asked, and I was like, "What the heck is this? I don't even know what it is. Let's find out what it is." And now it has become so pervasive that people who are tangential to the hobby, people who are not huge in the hobby, are texting and they're sending messages and saying, "Hey, what's this Top Shot? Should I get in?" And maybe last week I might have said, proceed with caution because it might be too late. But I'm glad I didn't, because look what happened with yesterday's, limited edition announcement. They basically, anybody who got in before 6 p.m. yesterday is up and up big. Everybody who got in. Now, keeping that going forward for the Top Shot team, that's going to be the magic trick.
I would never let DeMarcus Cousins near my team within a month. let me tell you guys something. The Rockets are on a 7-game losing streak. 7-game losing streak. One player went out during that time, and one player came in. Christian Wood has been injured for that entire time. DeMarcus Cousins is now your starting center. Atrocious. The guy can't defend. He can't do anything other than score. And this is why stats are so deceiving. He puts up amazing numbers. He'll always put up 12 and 20, 15 and 10. He'll always have a double-double, but his teams always lose. And I love players like this because I always bet against them. Get rid of all DeMarcus Cousins. One of the worst players in the entire league.
Wow. So I have a question for you. Luka Nation wants to know. Just one question for you, and we'll end it on that one. My question for you is, how do you feel about DeMarcus Cousins? I'm just playing. Really? You really don't like this guy?
Well, no. I don't like him because of ESPN. ESPN hypes up players with good stats, and they're like brain dead that these guys are out of shape, can't defend the pick and roll, can't do anything. Okay, so he could score the basket, but so can the other team. And if you can't stop the other team, what's good? What's your 20 and 10 good for? So I blame ESPN, but DeMarcus is getting the brunt of it. I'm sure he'll be okay. I'll actually probably try to fight him because that's all he tries to do instead of just like getting in his face.
Did you say he's going to try to fight you?
Yeah, people think he's like a bad man. People are like scared of DeMarcus. He's a big fat.
Right. So you would fight him.
I would absolutely go.
Would you pull out your capoeira moves? You pull out your Brazilian dance fighting that you do on the beach down in the undisclosed location that you are in?
Bro, I'll just bring it. He's a big ass dude though. He's way stronger than me. I'm gonna get crushed. But
if you don't back down, I love it. Don't back down. No. Never back down. Never surrender.
The biggest teddy bear in freaking the NBA.
Well, guys, listen, I'm going to leave you with this, and I appreciate all these questions. I love these episodes. It is easily my favorite one. Coffee with Cage is great. I wish we could do this every day. Maybe we should.
You just talk all day.
I'll talk all day. Well, I talk in every episode anyway. So, but here's my deal. We are so close. We're 99% of the way to 5,000 followers on Instagram. So if you happen to not be following us and you listen to this, or you got a neighbor or a friend or an enemy or an ex-girlfriend you still talk to, but you don't tell your current girlfriend about, get them to follow us. Throw a little follow on there, because when we hit 5,000, we got a big announcement for you guys. And, I hate keeping secrets, especially from you guys, Luka Nation. So do me a favor, get us to 5,000 so we can make this big announcement and get you guys all in on it, because, all right, there's going to be some giveaways. We're definitely going to have some giveaways. We got some fun stuff for you. It's definitely, another cool way for us to bring value to Luka Nation. So we are there. It's my one little ask for you guys. Make sure you're following us. Get us to 5,000, and then we can have this big announcement and lots of fun, and then continue the march towards 10,000 and beyond. Love you guys. Thank you. Thank you for spending some time with us on another episode of the Lukas, Tigers, and Bronze Oh My podcast. Do us a favor and like, subscribe. You know what? Don't just like and subscribe. Everybody does that. If you like us, tell your friends, tell your neighbors, tell your enemies, tell everybody. And we hope you got something from spending some time with us today, and we'll see you next time. Thank you.